Dark Souls 1 is that definitive game of the 2010s, the same way Mario 64 was for the 90s, and Halo was for the Y2K years. So naturally, a lot of YouTubers around 10 years older than me have made videos about how it saved them, or hit them in ways they didn't know they could be hit. I got Dark Souls 1 when I was about 14 years old. At the same time I got Halo 2, in the same place actually. This weird Chinese basement store in New York. Both were games I was told by the internet I needed to play. To be honest, I didn't go crazy for either of them until years later. I got Dark Souls 3 when it came out, and like Dark Souls 1, I only played it a little bit mostly because YouTube told me to. In 2017, I bought myself a PS4 and was living with my then girlfriend and took another chance at games that I overlooked. This is when I actually started committing to Dark Souls 3. But said commitment only lasted till about 2019 when I got stuck on Pontiff Sullivan. I wasn't playing for online and I do not enjoy grinding for souls. So yeah, I started playing the Painted World DLC since the original Painted World was the coolest part of the first game, and it wasn't long until I realized I was underleveled for that too. And that's where my journey with Dark Souls 3 ended, until this last Christmas. Now I can't get enough. And while I could just make another video about Dark Souls 3, I can't help but constantly compare it to another game I've only really played in recent years, Mario 64. I'm not a 90s kid, but I was born at a point where due to reruns and all the cooler older kids being born earlier in the 90s, I experienced bits of 90s kid stuff. Batman the Animated Series, many 90s game ports on my Game Boy like Donkey Kong Country, and the occasional run-in with Mario 64. When I was really little, video games for me meant Halo 1. The only consoles I was exposed to was my OG Xbox at my grandpa's house. Yeah, just Halo and Kung Fu Chaos. There were, however, two moments in time where I came into contact with another console, and both those times were with the Nintendo 64, with Mario 64 in it. One of these times was at a family friend's house where I watched their son fight Bowser, and the other time where I actually got to play was in a hotel room in Los Cabos. I was maybe 4, so I just wandered around the castle and swam a lot. I might have gone to Bob-omb Battlefield or the Penguin level, but I didn't make much progress. Still, it clearly made an impression on me. It wasn't until 2021 though, where I actually got the Nintendo 64 games package with the Switch Online subscription, that I actually played Mario 64. Honestly, I'm having a lot of fun with these N64 games, and my next non-boomer game recommendation video will probably be for the Nintendo 64. I took down the one for the OG Xbox because that needs to be perfect, and I need to do something different in that series to avoid burnout before I try to redo the Xbox one. But yeah, guess what I compared Mario 64 to?
Hello Rose from Resident Evil Village. Hello Karitsa Emiya from Fate Stay Night.
In Dark Souls 64, you play as an unlikely hero summoned from beneath the ground to a sacred keep that transports you to various worlds where you seek power to unlock new abilities and new areas in order to bring balance back to a world that has lost its key leadership figures and now suffers due to them not being able to attend to their responsibilities. Your keep is a welcoming safe haven that seems simple enough on the surface. However, ominous and exciting secrets and areas reveal that this place is so much bigger and houses so much more than meets the eye. Danger, helpful items, and discoverable friends meet you along the way and can all be found here. Experienced players can even utilize glitches to access certain areas earlier in the game. In the levels you visit, you'll have to master the game's mechanics, as a simple mistake can set you back hours. However, as you get familiar with the environment, you'll find easier ways to move through areas. You may even find yourself retreading places you've been to collect special items or experience gameplay opportunities you missed out on your first way through. You'll also get a chance to do good or evil in the worlds. Dark Souls 64 is an oddly uncanny and atmospheric game where you'll stare at the skybox, the surreal levels, and the music and ambience will lock you into a trance. Sometimes beautiful, sometimes eerie, sometimes both. All jokes aside, these games feel like kindred spirits. That being said, let's talk about some differences. Actually, you know what? Let's just talk more about cool hub worlds. Firelink Shrine is so cozy yet so creepy. The ominous chanting is like a lullaby from Home Invader. I wrote this script a while back, and that's an interesting analogy, Pliskin. It's dreary, dark, and a literal crypt, but the soft candlelight, undisturbed water, and cathedral vibes are soothing. It's not safe per se, as enemies are right outside the front door. However, inside, the shrine is so peaceful. A shopkeeper and a blacksmith improve your gear, which is the opposite of how most of the world is going to be treating you. Instead of beating you down, they make you stronger. It starts to feel increasingly safe, as almost every non-hostile you meet can be brought back home at some point or another. This little dude is a thief and acts as a better shopkeeper once you bring him back. Irina is a failed firekeeper that you can bring back and help get her back on her way. Or Corruptor if you're the same dude who harvests little sisters. And there's this pilgrim dude who can level you up but always seems to die halfway through the game. If there's a way to keep him alive, please tell me. I think he's like tied to Henri's quest, and I always lose track and fail that quest, so if you guys know the way to do that, please help me out. And of course, there's my wife. The firekeeper who levels you up, reacts to your emote, so I always look forward to trying a new one out when I find one out in the world and bring it back to Firelink Shrine, and will plot with you to break the rules and defy the shitty role society has placed on you both. Dream girl right here. God, this, I'm a fucking cringy. Outside of the people, there's hidden passages, locked towers to get keys for, and a secret character on the roof. You can even run up this tree to find a lot of this stuff early. You can grind for souls outside, fight tough hidden enemies, and yeah, honestly, there's just so much going on here that I love. Peach's castle is so warm yet uncanny. The juxtaposition between the nature ambiance in a very unnatural looking setting and the iconic is so cool and so jarring. The bright color palettes and the angular shapes are so 90s. It's the perfect space to learn the game. You can swim, find areas to slide, and read helpful tutorials. Your little camera Koopa and the Toad get you in the loop of things, and off you go. Jump into levels and come right back when you win or lose. You'll unlock more areas as you progress through the game and get more stars. There's also ways to get stuff early. Secrets abound, and a secret character on the roof. Wink wink. Peach's castle is like the primordial soup for the modern hub world. The idea that you learn, chill, discover, unlock, and play here sets the standard for most other games. And it's no coincidence that all the good hub worlds I can think of can easily be compared to Peach's palace.
Where the wrath of the gods be gone!
The Auditore Villa in Assassin's Creed 2 is a perfect example of a good hub world in a 7th gen game. I've used the example of this being a better version of Metal Gear Solid 5's Mother Base, and I stand by this. Ezio's mom is a comparison to the whole pauses emotional driver, fetch quest sort of thing.
Oh, no.
You see all the upgrades you buy and can tangibly enjoy said upgrades firsthand. You can train and get tutorials for combat improvements, equip better gear, learn some history, which I kind of geek out over. My mom used to take me to tons of art museums as a kid, so the fact that I can enjoy a game in a similar way is really freaking cool. All said upgrades are done through characters instead of lifeless menus. There's so many secrets to explore, places to vibe in. AC2 is actually a good example of that PS360 aesthetic in the same way that Mario 64 is for the Nintendo 64 aesthetic. The Windows XP hills, the muted colors, and the late Y2K to early 2010 uncanniness in the environments and faces. It's really cool. And don't forget one of the coolest outfit unlocks in the basement, but that's a topic for another video. It's your mostly safe space for regrouping, upgrading, and vibing. The jingle is mesmerizing. I've never really been into Assassin's Creed, but I love this game in particular. The ever so overlooked Astral Chain is another really good example of a game with a great hub. The police headquarters has so much to do and see. Shops, a training room, side quests with every named character in the game, even some with like unnamed characters. You can customize your attire and pick up a quest from a secret fairy that lives in your bathroom and is always in need of toilet paper. There's even this funny mascot character who always has cool stuff that mixes up the pacing and provides something new for you to always do when visiting the hub world. I'm always so excited to get back to this hub. It's like a whole nother game in of itself. Also, the Y2K Future Spa Buddha Bar track is pretty freaking great. I mean, there's this resurgence with like Vertigo Arrow as an aesthetic, and I feel like the music specifically in this hub world really would fit into one of those playlists. Okay, so where were we? Alright, the differences between Dark Souls 3 and Mario 64. So, Mario 64 is a single-player adventure platformer that introduced gamers and developers to a proper 3D movement system. This 1996 classic has some jank. The camera can be antagonistic towards you, and the controls feel very unrefined, leading to a lot of frustration during many moments of precision necessary to make it through the levels. Still, there are a lot of times where movement feels good. Swimming, gliding, and sliding all feel fairly challenging. Progression is halted only by the amount of stars that you carry, meaning that as long as the levels are unlocked, you can jump in and out of whatever painting or other warp point that you want at any point in time. Tutorials litter every stage so you'll never feel lost, but need to be manually activated so they aren't, annoyingly popping up in your face. Bosses are simple, but that's okay because this is a platformer first. Easter eggs, secret characters, and unlockables are the cherry on top. It's easy to see how kids a few years older than me got lost in Mario 64 the same way I got lost in Halo Combat Evolved. 20 years later, Dark Souls 3 would come out as an action-adventure RPG. I always play as a knight and upgrade my strength and endurance, and nothing else. This game is approachable this way, and the consistent rules of blocking, parrying, and R1ing my way through all these worlds feels really good. The enemies will try to gank, ambush, and trap you, so you never have to feel bad about playing cheesy. After all, these guys started it. The bosses are a joy to learn and overcome. And there is so much variety in the different worlds. One minute I'm in a snowy, decayed city, the next I'm in hell fighting a sandworm from Dune. Unlockables and items are so cool to find, whether it's picking off loot from my foes, exploring a hard-to-reach corner of the map, or buying them from the shopkeeper. On the note of exploration, there is so many items and passages that reveal the least expected things. There's not a single fight in this clip, but look at how intense just exploring can be. But the biggest difference between Mario 64 and Dark Souls 3 is the online component. I usually avoid online because interacting with people is awful. But here it's so chill. PvP feels like a respectful duel instead of a scoreboard, cracked out losers who always sound like they just woke up, and griefers. I get a human-ass interaction. Griefing is even an in-lore part of the game, with a character at your shrine being all like fuck your duty and go attack other people. So it's cool. PvE is where it's at. So I got stuck on Aldridge and the Dancer. Right when I was about to give up, I saw a post about r/summon signs. Within a minute, my queries for help were answered. It felt so good to have a stranger help me. Honestly, it makes me want to offer help when I beat the game too. It's like what Kojima tried to do with Death Stranding, but it actually works here and you don't have to slog through a boring game to get to it. And the fact that the servers are still up almost 10 years later is really cool. This is your call to play Dark Souls 3 now. You can get it for cheap and still enjoy the online element. So not only is it a really good adventure game, but it's a good adventure game with a really chill online community. Dark Souls 64 can be viewed as two separate games. There's enough there to warrant that. But the pacing, the hubs, and feel of these games are too damn similar not to make a video over. It's funny that it hasn't been until 2024, almost 10 years since Dark Souls 3, and 28 years since Mario 64, that I realize how much these games resonate with me. I'm nearly 25 years old now. Stories about an unlikely hero, outmatched by a world capable of scrubbing him off the face of the earth without breaking a sweat, who continue to press on, even though there is so much more to fear than love, because those shimmers of love, peace, and random acts of kindness make the failure, regret, and defeat so worth it, are the most relatable thing to me as of this moment in my life. So because of this, I made a video. I hope you like it. I'm still Pliskin, despite it all. Over and out.
This is Solid Snake. Hey, subscribe to Pliskin Boy. God damn it.
You heard him.